like what happened 3 years ago. What I want to talk about is my mom when I was little. Okay, she is only 5'2". All right, I am almost 6 foot, and I'm a few biscuits over 200. Okay, maybe a whole platter over 200 now. But when I was little, she was the most intimidating factor I've ever seen in my life. I mean, she was a young gal, and by the time I was in 6th, 7th grade, I could kiss her on the forehead because I outgrew her. But she still ruled the roost. You know what I mean? I mean, she was my mom, and she's always been there for me. She's always taken care of us. And it's like, man, you know, Mom, thank you. Thank you for being there. I mean, my mom was a homemaker, so she was always there. When we get up, I mean, we were so lucky because Mom cooked breakfast for us every night before going to school. Amen. I mean, that was great. And it's funny, one of our favorite meals was cheese on toast for breakfast. And all she did, put it in the toaster, slice some cheese, put it on there, melt it, and man, it was great. And me and Bobby would always ask her, man, stack it with cheese. It's like eating pizza in the morning before you go to school. It was great. But Mom, she never lied to us. I mean, if she says, if you mess this up, I want to bust you. Sure enough, we'd have to push the limits, and sure enough, we got busted. And then she loved us. She cared about my spirituality. She always wanted to make sure I was in church and knew about Jesus early in life. And I really appreciated that about her. I mean, you know, I knew who the devil was early because she kept saying Dad was the devil. So I knew what the devil was my dad. But she's always been there for us, and I'm truly grateful. And all right, we got some time. So you guys, I hope the second service can wait. But about 3 years ago, was life-changing. Because I think most of you guys that know my mom probably had not known her before 3 years ago. Man, I'm sorry guys, I've practiced this over and over again. Did not shed a tear until now. Anyway, I was in my office out here in the back, and I get a call. I didn't recognize the number, and it was Mom and Dad's mailman, of all people. I thought, why is he calling me? And he says that he's at Mom and Dad's house in Bethany. This was even before we lived in the Mustang, and even before we had moved into our house. And he says, hey, Mr. Cowan, I'm here. Your Mom and Dad are here in their driveway at their house, and they can't get in their house. I thought, what did they do? Leave the key? You know, lose their key or something? And what happened is for the past 10 years, my dad has had a debilitating back, which caused his right hip just to deteriorate where it looked like somebody hit it with a sledgehammer. And we've always relied on Mom to take care of Dad. I mean, she would have to get up, help him bathe, help him clothes, take care of all of his... Am I out? All right, so, yeah, that's better. So we were always relying on her. She was even driving for Dad. Always took care of his medicines, all of that good stuff. And then I get that phone call. And he says that, you know, that Dad and Mom cannot get out of the car in their house. I think, what in the world's going on? I mean, so I drop what I was doing, go over there. And And my dad was in the driver's seat. Dad hadn't driven for over 5 years because Mom always did the driving. But Mom, for some reason, had a spell, is what we call it. And she was in the passenger seat, eyes almost rolled in the back of her head, didn't know where she was, didn't know who she was, didn't know anything, and we couldn't even get her to hardly walk. I mean, if we tried to get her out of the car, she would fall, so we had to carry her. And I thought, uh-oh, what's going on? So I helped get Dad out, and then I call the doctor. You know, we tried to figure out who the doctor was. Anyway, to make a long story short, we called a neurologist, and the neurologist said that Mom had a spell, and she'll probably have them off and on after her life. And then she was diagnosed with Pick's type dementia. And we didn't know exactly what that was. And you guys, you know, some of you guys are probably familiar with Alzheimer's and dementia. Alzheimer's is where it shrinks your whole brain. Pick's type dementia shrinks the front part of your brain. And so that kind of, it worries us. Because there's been times in the past three years, you guys probably have heard me tell you some crazy stories about what Mom and Dad's done. And it really, you know, it didn't really affect how Mom walks or a lot of her motor skills, but it affects a lot of her civil skills, or whatever you want to call them, right? Social skills. And then we realized, you know, we kept saying, man, Dad gets sick every now and then we realized, well, she was putting his medicine together. Yeah. And so a person with dementia that doesn't want one thing or another is taking care of another person, helping him get his medicine, is like, wow. Okay, that's a double whammy. Because we thought, man, Mom's got something against Dad. I guess he is the devil. But she was taken care of, so we were able to kind of make all, you know, help make sure all that was together. But then every now and then, Mom would just have one of those spells where she has no idea where she is or what she does. So we have to kind of lay her down for about 3 days, 3 to 4 days, until she finally snaps out of it. And it's really been tough. And the reason I said that is because it's so hard to watch your mom suffer. It really is. After all the things she's done for us. My mom, I mean, I'll never forget days in grade school when we had to buy our own lunch tickets. And Mom would drop me off in 2nd or 3rd grade. And she goes, well, I'll get your lunch tickets. Well, to a kid, 10 minutes is like 40 hours. And I started worrying. It's like, she hasn't come back with my lunch tickets. I'm going to starve to death. I don't have my lunch tickets, Mom. So I started doing what I do best, crying. Go up to the teacher, and she goes, you are such a wimp. Oh. She did, and I'm teasing. And then within a matter of moments after talking to her, guess who walks in with my lunch tickets? It's Mom. She always takes care of us, man. In the middle of the night when I'm sick, what do kids do? Mom, Mom. You know, like dads, they can sleep through anything. I mean, Krista wants the kids say, Mom, she's up and out. I said, let them suffer till morning. I'm going to sleep. Then you'll be well relaxed to take care of them. That's how men think, right? Women, they go, no, nurture. And I've always told you that, those things are so funny when one of my 3 kids, they'll scrape their knee, and then they start crying, they start running, and it's like me and Chris is behind me, and Courtney's like running, oh, I get down. Why? Because that's Mom. Mom's there for her and cares about her. I mean, I care, don't get me wrong, I love my kids. I just need to toughen up sometimes. But I want to share with you in 2 Samuel chapter 21, beginning with verse 1. And it's another mom, and it's like, man, I can relate to this mom. I can relate with what this mom does. And how this mom helped. And I want to share this with you, okay? It's a little bit of background, and it talks about
this mother named Rizpah. In 2 Samuel chapter 21, verse 1, it says, there was a famine during King David's reign that lasted for 3 years. So David asked the Lord about it, and the Lord said, the famine has come because Saul and his family are guilty of murdering the Gibeonites. So the king summoned the Gibeonites. They were not part of Israel, but were all that was left of the nation of the Amorites. The people of Israel had sworn not to kill them, but Saul, in his zeal for Israel and Judah, had tried to wipe them out. David asked him, what can I do for you? He's asking the Gibeonites, what can I do for you? How can I make amends so that you will bless the Lord's people again? Or he's talking this to God. And he goes, well, money can't settle the matter between us and the family of Saul. Sometimes we think money's the answer, but it's not. The Gibeonites replied, neither can we demand the life of anyone in Israel. Well, what can I do then, David asked? Just tell me and I will do it for you. Then they replied, it was Saul. It was Saul who planned to destroy us, to keep us from having any place at all in the territory of Israel. So let 7 of Saul's sons be handed over to us, and we will execute them before the Lord at Gibeon on the mountain of the Lord. All right, the king said, I will do it. The king spared Jonathan's son Mephibosheth, who was Saul's grandson, because of the oath David and Jonathan had sworn before the Lord. But he gave them Saul's 2 sons, Armoni and Mephibosheth, whose mother was Rizpah, daughter of Ai. He also gave them the 5 sons of Saul's daughter Merab, the wife of Adriel, son of Barzillai from Maholah. The men of Gibeon executed them on the mountain before the Lord. So all 7 of them died together at the beginning of the barley harvest. Now here's what I want to pick up. It's right here. Then Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, the mother of 2 men, spread burlap on a rock and stayed there the entire harvest season. She prevented the scavenger birds from tearing at their bodies during the day and stopped wild animals from eating them at night. When David learned what Rizpah, Saul's concubine, had done, he went to the people of Jabesh Gilead and retrieved the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan, because when the Philistines had killed Saul and Jonathan on Mount Gilboa, the people of Jabesh Gilead stole their bodies from the public square of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hung them. So David obtained the bones of Saul and Jonathan, as well as the bones of the men the Gibeonites had executed, which includes Rizpah's 2 sons. Then the king ordered that they bury the bones in the tomb of Kish, Saul's father, at the town of Zebah in the land of Benjamin. After that, God ended the famine in the land. All of that because one mother cared enough for her children with Rizpah. See, godly mothers like Rizpah, they love their children. They love their children. I mean, you know, I don't think any of us could ever find a mother that did not love her children. And she loved them. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7 says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith. It's always hopeful, endures through every circumstance. Now, take that word love out and put in mom. Mom is patient and kind. You see where I'm going with this? Mom is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. Mom does not demand her own way. Mom is not irritable. And Mom keeps no record of being wronged. How would you like it if every day your mom held something over your head because of what you did when you were 5 years old? Huh? That would not be very fun. Christmas would be weird. But this is a great, but this is a mom that loves her children. And what she did, she took a burlap sack and she had it. And many times at the beginning of this harvest, the rains would start in, and her sons' bodies were hanging because of the Gibeonites. And she said that those birds of the air, she would just shoo them away to get them away to protect her children. And the wild beasts at night, she would shoo them away. And she would use this burlap sack sometimes to make a tent and hide herself from the sun when it got dark, because she was out there all day to make sure her son's bones were protected. Our moms do the same thing for us today. She probably doesn't grab a burlap sack and shoo all those snake women away when Bobby and I were in the girls. But she still did it. Hey, you guys, get away from those drugs. Get away from those alcohol. Get away from those people that are doing things. And devil, you get away from my children. I love them. And you get away from them. That's what those moms do. That's what a godly mom does. A godly mom loves her children so much that she does what it takes to protect them. She loves them. And the second one is you've already got on the screen, is that a godly mom protects her children. She protects them. I'm so glad my mom protected us. I knew there were times my mom was praying for me when it didn't seem like anybody else was. I knew there were times when my mom stayed up late at night because I was sick. I know there were times in my life when I was going through a bout, when I was about to want to give up and not do anything else and just going through a depression. I knew my mom was there praying with that sackcloth and protecting me and loving me and getting rid of anything else that would destroy me. Well, you guys are quiet today. I just got a few other things I want to share with you guys. I forgot something before I started, but we'll make up for that here in a second. Everyone's sorry. It's that godly mothers like Griswold, they sacrifice for their children. They sacrifice for their children. I'll never forget, my mom sacrificed many nights for me, my brother, and my sister. Anybody ever had teenagers at home that were hungry and had a hollow leg? Mom even sacrificed food for us, because there were times Bobby and I would devour 4 plates of food before Mom even had a chance to sit down and eat. But she sacrificed for us. But the whole thing is, after all these sacrifices, is that Mom will be rewarded. It's that moms will be rewarded, because Griswold's sons were given the burial fit for a king, fit for royalty. When David heard what she was doing, he gave them the proper burial because of the sacrifice that this mom made. And I knew early on in my life that my mom, I think she knew there was a calling upon my life to be a minister. I think she knew. I think moms know that. I think there's something within moms that understand their children. And I was about 13 years old. And God was dealing with me in my life. At 13. How many of you guys believe God can deal with children at a young age?
Amen.
Amen.
I believe that wholeheartedly. And it's like, and I knew that this preacher up there was given this altar call. And it's like, man, I know I need to figure out what God's all about. I need to figure out what God's all about. Guys, my mom was the one that was working in the nursery and in the children all the time I was growing up in church. She was down there. She instilled early in me, even at home, even at church, she was the one that taught us. Why? Because of this. She was going to protect us no matter where or what we were doing. She even volunteered at the school to be the lady in the lunch line that helps clean up the tables. Why? Because of this.
Amen.
Because she was going to be around to protect us anytime. She didn't just drop us off and say, well, she's somebody else's problem until I get home, or Steve's somebody else's problem until I got home. Mom made sure that I got taught what I needed to be taught when I needed to be taught. And so I was in the church service, and that preacher called me, or gave the altar call, and I go up there, and I start praying. And guys, granted, I'll tell you right now, I came from a Pentecostal background. And Pentecostals, man, we pray the spirits down where I came from. And I was up there, and I knew God was just filling me with this Holy Spirit. I could just sense Him all over my body. And I couldn't keep from crying. I just knew God had come into my life. God had come into my heart. And that preacher's up there. I knew my dad. I knew my brother was there. I knew my sister was there. All my family was there. And in the back of my mind, I thought, man, I wish my mom was here. I wish she was here. And while I'm right there praying, guess what I did? I heard a cough. I heard a cough. And how many of you guys know you can recognize your mom's cough in a crowded room? You can. You know she was there. And what was so great is one of the other ladies in the church went and grabbed my mom out of what she was teaching and brought her, so she could witness her son coming to Jesus. Guys, trust me, you're not going to miss out when you're serving somewhere else. God will make sure He sends somebody to replace you or bring you to see that your children get blessed beyond compare. And my mom was there. And she was able to see her youngest son come to know Christ that morning. Now, how many of you mothers would be jumping for joy if you knew your children were giving their heart to God? You would, wouldn't you? You'd be so excited, you'd be so pleased because you know they are going to heaven with you. And so I just want you to just imagine with me now. Okay, just imagine, mothers, that it's time for you to cross that threshold from this life to the next. And you're up there, and you're in the pearly gates. And God says, come on in, for great is your reward. And you start to walk through that pearly gates. And you're just astounded. You're right there in the presence of God. His bright light showing all around. His grace, His mercy, everything's just filling your heart, filling your spirit. You're right there in heaven with God Himself. And you're walking through, and then all of a sudden, in all of this aura, this all, you hear, Mom, wake up. Huh? Mom, wake up, and you turn around, and it's your children. And they're running to catch up with you. Can you just imagine that feeling? And then they say, Mom, yeah, don't worry. The kids are coming also. They're coming also.
Will you bow your heads with me?